can't get any better, folks, because we're failing our elders. And this was another exclusive by Eleanor Bader. People over 50 who now account for approximately half of the unhoused population in the United States.
Yeah.
Seniors are a growing portion of unhoused. And I personally have had some pretty close experience with this. Became friends with somebody on Facebook, and she is currently looking for housing as a senior and has gone through all kinds of trials and tribulations. And according to this, since January 22, nearly 25,000 households have been denied their right to counsel in housing court and left to face their eviction alone. Right? And that was in Brooklyn. But yeah, this is not a fun story, and I'm not going to go into this super long one, but just to say, how bad is it that people over age 50 currently comprise approximately 50% of the unhoused population, which is up from 37% in just 20 years and 11% in 40 years. I mean, we are really failing our people. You know, the number of homeless people over age 65 will triple by 2030 in major U.S. cities like Boston, L.A., and New York. You know, there are reasons for this, which is skyrocketing rents, and record profits, the end of the COVID eviction moratorium, ageism, a weak social safety net, an insufficient supply of affordable housing, and soaring medical debt. Yeah, while they keep building $1 million mini mansions. Yep. You know, and then there's our overall economic system, which they're using housing the same way mining companies have used the earth, and they're attempting to extract wealth from our communities, just as there are environmental impacts from strip mining, there are environmental impacts from wealth mining. You know, many shelters don't allow pets. For many vulnerable people, animals are their only family. In addition, receiving Section 8 subsidies are bound by stiff regulations promulgated by HUD that bar them from taking in an aging relative. In fact, guidelines stipulate that a guest, no matter if it's mom, dad, a grandparent, family, or elder, can stay with a prime tenant for no more than 21 days in a calendar year. Violation can lead to eviction. And one of our INN members, I know for sure, lives in state Section 8 housing. He can say who he is, but we deal with this type of stuff.
Yep.
So, you know, family support doesn't hurt elders. So, you know, it says if you've worked a minimum wage job your whole life, you likely don't have much saved to keep working into your 70s or 80s, or even, you know, to stay in your home. Great. You know, people typically don't want to be a burden to their families, especially if they have health issues and they feel humiliated when they end up on their grandchild's couch. So they end up homeless, houseless, on the streets. And people who are doubled up are also not considered homeless by HUD because they don't meet HUD's definition of homelessness. Moreover, that's great. She says people tend to romanticize the idea of a multi-generational home because it's not always something poor people in overcrowded apartments can even do. They don't have a financial cushion. One thread gets pulled and everything unravels. And it's terrible. You know, capitalism is killing us all. The average Social Security.
I said that She's Homeless song stuck in my head now. You know?
Nice.
Da-dee-dee, da-dee-do, da-dee-dee.
Wow. The average 2023 retirement benefit for Social Security is $1,834.80 per month. The average monthly disability is just under $1,500 per month. That's not even enough to cover rent, let alone food and everything else that you need to live, including health insurance, which costs as much, if not more than rent in most cases. And of course, all of these houseless people are, of course, not buying health insurance because you need an address to register your health insurance. Disabled and elderly people who did not...
Houseless people?
Yes. Unhoused.
That's like a George Carlin bit, right?
No,
Like,
that
they
was
call
a
them
George.
houseless people now.
Well, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. It's just the opposite because they said
Uh-huh.
it's not homeless. They don't need homes. They need houses. They're houseless. That's exactly what he said. They don't need homes. They need houses.
It's like,
Right?
yeah.
They are unhoused, and that is incredibly sad. But disabled and elderly people who did not work the required 40 quarters long enough to qualify can apply for supplemental Social Security, supplemental security income, or SSI. But the maximum monthly benefit for a single person is only $934, or elderly couples can receive a monthly grant of $1,391, which again isn't going to cover your even, subsidized or rent-controlled rent in most cases. There you go. For many people, this is less than their monthly rent. As of May 2023, Rent.com reports the national median rent is now $1,967. More incendiary that rents have risen 16.33% since 2021. Thank you, BlackRock. Thank you to Slava BlackRock, by the way. Reflecting an annual increase of about 8% or more than $250 per year. Right.
I'm sorry, don't talk about my mother like that.
Poverty rate for people over 65 went from 8.9% in 2020 to 10.3% in 21. And while 2022's 8.7% Social Security cost of living increase helped, it did little to stem the tide of housing loss for seniors. And again, my friend Kate would be able to tell you all about that. And she's had a terrible time of it. I feel awful when I see her on Facebook posting, and it's a reminder of how cruel this country can be to people that have spent their whole lives working, living, and being happy. And this woman, within the span of a year, lost her husband pretty suddenly to a heart attack. Then she lost her dog because she lost her housing. Then because she lost her housing, she lost her dog. And she had to rehome her dog. And then she ended up kind of living on people's couches. And then she got thrown out of her place and she ended up on the street. It's terrible, terrible. And now she's like applied for some kind of public housing, and she's got some kind of more positive situation now. But it's been a tough year for my friend Kate. So she said, so this person says that they've been in their apartment for 20 years. All right. That's a 56-year-old Brooklyn resident, Brett, for example. All right. 2 jobs as a security guard, lost his job, been in his apartment 20 years, live alone, pay $800 a month in rent, which is nothing in Brooklyn. New York is an expensive city, and during the worst of the pandemic, I couldn't pay my bills. I owe my landlord about $5,000, and I'm trying to work out a payment plan and reduce the arrears.
Jesus.
Yep. Trying to get a second job, but my landlord needs to cut me a break and let me pay off when I can. When I can. But the problem is that the landlord has bills piling up too.
You should have thrown give me a break of that Kit Kat bar at least in there,
Well,
Like,
I thought you have that. Yeah. Got 2 jobs in one toilet, Teamwork is saying. Yes. Paulette, now she's another Brooklyn resident who's also fallen behind on hard times. She's in her 70s. The eviction threats have been active. She pays $9.90 a month during COVID. She had an accident, broke her clavicle. And this had her get behind on her rent. She owed the landlord about $12,000 from 2020 and 21. There was no rent forgiveness, folks, for these people. Who are these people? These are the people that this has been kicking the can down the road. This is the 10%, by the way. Colin always talks about, what about the 10%?
Do you remember? Yes.
These are the 10%
yeah,
right
I do
here.
remember, yes.
All right, the 10%
when Cory
of people.
Bush got to have a sleepover on the Capitol steps.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
yep.
I owe the landlord about $12,000 from 2020. Oh, God, yep. That program is now closed. So the emergency rental assistance program did get them a year's back rent, but that program's now closed. Still owe the landlord a little bit. The rent never stops. That's right. Every month. As Paulie famously said in Goodfellas, fuck you, pay me. That's right. First of the month, fuck you, pay me. Lost your job? Fuck you. Pay me.
And the rent
Kid got
is
sick? Fuck you.
too
Pay
damn
me.
high.
Yep. Paulette said that due to her immigration status, she can't receive Social Security, so she finds other ways to earn money. I help friends with chores, recycle bottles and cans, get help from the community food pantry, but if I get evicted, no, that can't happen. No, well, unfortunately, it does too often, but many people cannot stave off a marshal or stop an eviction. Karen lost her Carlisle, Pennsylvania home of 43 years in March of 2021 after a neighbor complained about the deteriorating condition of her single-family home. She couldn't even maintain the outdoor grounds, so 6 officers came in with building code officers, and my husband and I were given 2 hours to leave. Yeah, but I'm sure they were given plenty of notices and warnings by the state and by the county beforehand, but at the time they had 13 cats. The officials condemned the house, had to get special permission each day to go in and feed the animals and remove some personal belongings. She was able to rehouse the cats, and for 6 weeks they stayed in a hotel paid for by family, friends, strangers, who responded to a GoFundMe appeal. That's another thing that GoFundMe is paying for, is not just healthcare expenses, but elderly expenses that aren't being covered by Social Security and by whatever retirement pensions and anything else. Yeah. They begged the borough to help them fix the house and repair the structure. They refused. Her husband died 9 months to the day after they were evicted. Since leaving the hotel, Karen's been staying with one of her 3 children. She's comfortable, but it's been devastating. She went from being in the same place for 4 decades to being on an air mattress in her daughter's living room. It's lovely and it's miserable because this is not my home. I mean, I'm sorry to bring such like a depressing story here, but this is really what's going on. And we've got millions of people that fall into this situation and they're being forgotten about and nobody's talking about this and not enough people are trying to help them. Each January, Olivia, this woman says that HUD does a point-in-time count on one night to identify folks who are in shelters on the streets. That's nice. That's one night out of 30 or 31 a month. People who fly under the radar, including couch surfers like Karen, result in severe undercount. In addition, she says that the count only divides people into 3 categories: under 18, again, children on the street, those 18 to 24, and those over 24. And we want HUD to break the numbers into even smaller age categories. Their longitudinal studies do this, but they're not up to date. Their most recent is from 19 to 20, which is pre-pandemic. And we know how many evictions happened in and after the pandemic. So this leaves advocates and activists with little concrete data to go on. And I think that that's also part of the plan of BlackRock and Vanguard and all these major hedge funds, KKR, what's his name? Kravis, Cole, Kraft, and Reigns, I think it is. But anyway,
Blumenstein and Rubenthal.
Right, other way around. Blumenthal and Rubenstein, attorneys at law. Dun, dun, dun.
No, I did it. I did it right. I did it right.
I know you did. This lead, like they said, we know anecdotally that people are aging in homelessness, and we're seeing a lot more people over age 50 enter the system for the first time. Shelter providers tell us family members are literally dropping their loved ones off when they can't take care of them anymore.
That's fucked.
Most shelters are ill-equipped and workers are burned out. They leave to take jobs at places like Home Depot, where they'll make more money and feel less stress. We're not keeping up with the need. And furthermore, because they're not like being paid like healthcare workers, and those are healthcare workers. Elderly care is healthcare. Rents rising fast. People on fixed incomes can't keep up. Like, we need some kind of...
And don't get started on mental care either. But,
senior... Yeah, but we need like
whatever.
some kind of a housing Section 8 type of safety net specifically designed for seniors so that they don't need to worry about going homeless. I mean, look at that. Creating special housing for seniors. Here. So this is Lisa Glow. She's the CEO of Central Arizona Shelter Services in Phoenix. This is a 600-bed congregate care facility and provides beds for people of all ages, but staff are currently renovating a hotel that will be tailored exclusively to people over 55. It'll provide temporary transitional housing, and I know that there's a woman in Oceanside, California that's doing this as well. Glow says that ideally people will be placed in permanent homes within 90 days, but she recognizes that it may take significantly longer, along with 3 meals a day, mental health counseling, and transportation and medical and other appointments. They served over 1,700 people over the age of 62, which is nearly a third of the 6,650 that they served that year, and a 43% jump from 2021. Well, it's great that they're stepping up and they have something to fill the void there. And this woman who's doing this, Lisa, she says the system is broken on so many levels. Hospitals discharge people to CAS where they have nowhere else to go, and we've set aside a percentage of beds for hospital drop-offs. We'll do the same at the hotel when it opens at the end of this year. We provide respite, but we're not a medical facility. We're understaffed and under-resourced and have been for decades, and the droves of seniors who are becoming homeless are perplexing. It are not, because capitalism and hedge funds, and she probably doesn't realize that a lot of the commercial and residential multifamily real estate has been bought up by these hedge funds and large corporations because people aren't paying attention to this shit. Solutions are obvious, she said. We need rent controls and rent increase exemptions for seniors and the disabled. We need to build more affordable housing, and we need to provide low-income people at risk of eviction with a no-cost attorney. We also need a better social safety net to help with medical and mental health concerns. Amen to every single one of those solutions. And we have the resources to do it. We just can't send $150 billion to murder people in Ukraine and to murder Russians. Well, we need the political will.
We'll try, though.
Yep. Well, we need the political will to build housing for low-income seniors, and we need neighbors who welcome affordable housing and poor people into their communities. When there's a hurricane, FEMA rushes in and takes action, but homelessness has been an ongoing hurricane for decades, and there's been very little action to help people. She's eloquent. Now, again, that may be changing. They're starting to make some... We've got Shani Cass, who's an organizer with Hope, which is housing organizers for people empowerment out of Brooklyn. That's a tenant-led group. And I know Reverend Annie Chambers out in Baltimore. She's doing some incredible things for residents in her community. But because they're retired, typically they have time to go to court and attend daytime protests. So that's good. But of course, we've seen cops push seniors out of the way, and we don't want to put seniors in harm's way. And 1 year ago, Truthout. Truthout is trying to raise $37,000 in the next 4 days. They need our help. They need everybody's help to keep going. Truthout is an important publication on the left and to independents. They are fully user-funded. They take no funding from corporations, and they take no advertising either, and that's really important. We need to support our ad-free, anti-corporate publications.